Hello everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we are going to be unboxing a massive group of French silver jetons that I'm so excited. It looks like such a good mix of coins from the 1700s and 1800s in front of us, and probably a couple 1600s dated items. I'll try to talk a bit about what these jetons were for, but honestly, they've been some of my favorite coins to be, learning about, collecting, and there's such a good variety, and you just feel like it's really neat to be able to collect these types. I mean, looking out, I'm immediately seeing items of Napoleon, items of King Louis the 15th and 16th, and then some in the Revolutionary War period. And so they're just awesome. And I'll just go kind of coin by coin and try to give a general history as to what these are. I paid in the very high 30s of dollars for each of these, approximately. Some of them maybe a little bit more, but nothing too crazy. So in terms of right here, we'll start, this one, MDCC, is going to be 1700. So it's actually a little bit of an older one. Most of the dates can be approximate. So while they're often from the 1700s, there are going to be some of these, especially in like the 1800s dated ones that would have been struck in like the late 1800s. But 1700 Academy of Literature in Lugdunum, I think that's the same as Lyon, and it has this beautiful reclining portrait of maybe two river gods or a river god and goddess. Then the next one says Vie de Paris, and it talks about 1780, and it's discussing, let's see, the Prevost of the mayor of, I'm not exactly sure, but Fèvre de Caumartin, and, there's a bunch of different ones. So some mayoral ones. This one seems to be of Paris, but a lot of these would have been struck for ceremonial purposes. This is a Science, Literature, and Art Academy in Lyon, and also dates back to 1700. Again, beautiful altar, interesting scene. And then here you see King, the great king, 1708, before his death in 1714. You have a stork. You have some interesting seafaring themes. And then we have, here is a great example of an octagonal jeton. These would be a little bit older, 1786, or a little bit newer, excuse me, is what I meant to say. But the date is higher, obviously. Aurelia on the front of that. And so a lot of the themes of like protecting France. And there's going to be different ones. So as you can see here, it says payeur des rentes. I don't exactly know, I doubt it's the same way of paying rent. In fact, I might look it up really quickly here while, probably not while we're live, but anyways, this is a really young King Louis the 15th. He would have started in 1715, so this was 2 years later, and so you can really see that boyish face, but then you'll see his portrait evolve over time. And again, so these originally would have been used for accounting, though the token quality would have been a lot lower. Basically, people didn't have calculators, so you would move them around really quick to make calculations. This is of Lille, doesn't exactly have a date, but it's King Louis the 15th era. Whereas this, again, so many fascinating, 1741, this is talking about the Academy of Lyon of Sclopetaria. I'm not sure what that is referring to, but a fascinating rifle-style portrait. And the list can truly go on, as you can see, Vie de Paris here again, 1750. This one, and there's so many different types of jetons, a lot of Christian themes. Some of the more common ones are Trésor de Royal, but this seems to be, some of these jetons aren't quite as common, I would say. There's Trésor Royal, finally. I think that's talking about the financial audit almost department, because after a while they would basically give these out maybe to people, service tokens as rewards. They are silver and they're pretty cool, but these weren't circulating currency. So yeah, this is more like the Royal Treasury. Let's see, Order Militaire of Saint-Louis under the 16th. So that could be towards the Revolutionary era. Same thing here, XVI 1776 to 1792 approximately. Expert des bâtiments. And I'm not sure, bâtiment sounds like it's military related, I'm not sure. And the octagonal ones are really sought after from my experience having sold them. I feel like the designs are really awesome. 1693, and there's so much more creativity from a perspective of just making interesting art on these that I think that really expands 1753 Conseiller de Vie. I think that there's something like 10,000 types or some massive number. That one's 1750. And you can tell that they circulated, and so there could have definitely been some circulating purposes. But, it feels like there's so much learning. There's all these Latin inscriptions. I've never seen this one before. Order of Saint Espéry, 1740. This one seems like one that we'd seen a little bit ago. There's 1705, Secrétaire du Roi, probably Secretary of the King. Again, so many different types, and I'm just like thrilled whenever I get these in to basically go inventory them and hold some of them and offer a couple of others up for sale. Village of Paris, but I'll just try to go through quickly. I like any seafaring ones like these. This was definitely, as I'm looking at it, much more of a wide variety. That's a cool palm tree. I haven't seen that type before. King Louis. Oh, that one's earlier, Louis the 14th. So pre-1715, but potentially even a touch back of that. I haven't seen this Village of Paris, Town of Paris, 1760 example. That one's more familiar with the rifles and interesting. That one I've seen 1782 jeton, and then a 1741, ship facing the sea. It really just extends forever and ever. An interesting horse, Écurie du Roi. I wonder if that's like the horses of the king or something like that. Not totally sure. Parisian village, just so many different, there's like a really young portrait, so that probably would have been more like 1720s. Same thing here. It's 1715, so in the year of his birth, it's really like a baby that's been made to look like an emperor, given the crown that was used there. And then in front out here, we have the Vendeur de Volet. I'm not sure exactly what that refers to, but there are so many subtypes. That's where I find, getting in a big jeton collection like this, it's awesome because there's just going to be so many. This one's 1828, so again, a lot of these octagonal are going to be a little bit later for Monsieur Morel. But, again, money, 1723. That one sounds quite interesting. And sorry for that interruption, but, just a lot of cool stuff. Let's see what else we might have. A cool Civitas Camerensis. This one's Louis the 16th. Again, fascinating. I'm almost wondering if I break and I go through the remainder to just pick out some of the coolest types, if there's like another 10 that I'm really excited by. I love the toning, and again, that wasn't exactly what I expected to be on the reverse of that. Interesting Christian theme. Earlier 1701 with a beautiful sun and then some thunderbolts. Again, truly, and I try to convey this, but really fun, not ending anytime soon. I'm thinking the way, like this one looks interesting. It's Maria Josepha Delphia, 1751. I think she's one of the Dauphine, like the queen of, and there it even says Maison de Madame la Dauphine, like the house of the queen, basically. This one's awesome. It references a lot of the legal community, and would have been struck by or in reference, but early after his deposition of King Napoleon, or Emperor Napoleon the First. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, again, wow, have not seen that type before. Regia in script at Human Lit Academia. A lot of these seem to have academic themes. These, they're awesome. So, again, I'm going to do that, quick search for some of my favorites, whether they're, modern crests like this one, and they're more referring to, mayors of, a town or something like that, or, going way back and let's see, that's awesome. A floating hand from the Greffier du Châtelet. Have not seen that one in the past. Again, you can tell that there's just so much. So, top 10 remaining, and then we'll wrap this video. I just couldn't not make a video with that big of a pile of jetons in front of me. And of course, I couldn't necessarily get it down to 10, but there were 11 good ones and one bad one. So we'll get out the bad right away. I think this one seems like a more modern strike just when I look at it, especially that like Chambre de Commerce on the front of it, Urbis Honor et Fortuna. I think that this one is like a 1900s restrike of an older looking one. You can't see anything on the rim, but it just feels modern, and I want to call that out. The rest of these look perfect to me. This is a cool one, a snake eating itself, Eternitas, with a cornucopia in the middle of the royal treasury. I love the ones that are more focused on just words and teeing them up really nicely. 1755 Regi Civibus Aris. Here's a Conventus Cleri Gallicani Habitus Lut Parisior, 1780. Nice looking coin, and I really like the octagonal type. This one's also King Louis the 16th. This one is as well, but has a beautiful ship scene, and it's the Commerce Bureau of Marseille, 1775. I just really think, it takes me back to what maybe that Marseille, shipyard might have looked like. This one's a bit clean, but an interesting Huissier du Département de la Seine, and has a snake looking at itself in the mirror, along with the procedural code book in behind it. This one was neat because it's referencing, it's like Bibliopole et Typographie. Reminds me, it seems like somewhat religious. 1847, a little bit later, but a cool Carolus Magnus. I'm not sure exactly if this is referencing to an old King Charles, but I'm going to look that up later. And then this one, 1835, again, I'm a sucker for the octagonal types. A commercial code with an anchor. Here we have a village of Paris with a beautiful crest. And then two here, the oldest one I found, 1644. That's a lot earlier. It talks about the Prévost de the mayor of Mass. I'm not sure exactly, Le Boulanger, so that'll be good research, but much older dated. And then a 1755, just great ship and dragon scene. And then also on the other side, it wasn't just like a king, but this talks about La Vie de Lyon. So, a lot of interesting mythology. That wraps this one. Loved the hunt, obviously. So many cool coins. And that'll make, I think, for a fun thumbnail. Truly a treasure of jetons. I'm constantly looking for these. They're so interesting, and they're some of my favorite coins to add to my collection. Obviously buying and selling a fair number of them, and the jeton count seems to be growing over time. So I'm very pleased with it, and I'll look forward to keeping you up to date on any other unboxings I get in.
Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to head on over to treasuretown.com and sign up for our email list to stay up to date on everything that's happening, whether it's auction updates, exciting new inventory drops, coin collecting news, or general informational resources. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on another one.